For this second part of this discussion that I'm doing on the history of sci-fi films, I'm gonna film the first 20 minutes or so of 1927. Start off by filming the first 20 minutes or so of the 1927 film Metropolis, to give you got a good an idea of what was going on back in the world of science fiction back in the 1920s. Um, This is what they thought the world of the future will be like back in 1927. Expect you're all getting bored of this now, aren't you? This is what films were like back in 1927, but this is a science fiction film, so it's unique. It's not typical of the time. Right, I think we've watched a fair amount of that now, haven't we? (1930s) science fiction. We'll watch a bit of High Treason, an old talking science fiction film from 1930. Watch a bit of that. Let's see what they were like in 1930, eh? Yeah, the year 1940, that was 10 years in the future then. So it's futuristic by that.
Yeah, what's the big idea? First time I ever see 6 aces in a pack. 7, old son, including the joker. And where'd you get it? Same place as you. What are you driving at? Drop that money. Like hell I will. Keep your dirty hands off me. I won't. Drop that money. Don't try any of your dirty European tricks on me. Yeah, just what I might have thought from a lousy Atlantic. Say, are you trying to start another war? What the hell is it? You fresh? Seems in order. Well, you haven't got any liquor aboard, have you? Shoot her your possible. Where do you think you're going? Is this place yours? Sure. You leave that man alone. Close your trap, dumbbell. This is my business. You got any liquor on here? No liquor here. What do you got in here? No, nothing. European war Russian. I knew you were carrying the stuff.
This is New York calling the world. The outrage on the frontier early this morning creates a critical intercontinental situation. This is the latest of a series of deplorable incidents causing friction between the Federation of Europe and the Atlantic states. Despite all the attempts of the World League of Peace, despite the annihilation of the old provocative national boundaries and the substitution of continental federations, the year 1940 finds us faced with as dangerous a situation as the year 1914. We look to London, the headquarters of the great World League of Peace and of the government of the Federation of Europe, to assist us in destroying the mysterious and unscrupulous forces which we have reason to believe are seeking to precipitate another world war.
These fools of politicians,
Money talk. Да, господа, вне всякого сомнения, если вам не знали, что мы их видим, я вас уверяю, они разнесли бы нас пух и прах. At last, my friends, we're about to be rewarded.
Monsieur a parfaitement raison. Je vous assure qu'avant peu de temps, nous aurons notre revanche.
in 48 hours, which is a brought about the war, which we have waited.
Yes, yes, but the Blacks were wicked. Our prophet.
Right.
Quarter a league to get war talk and see a nice bit of horseflesh again, eh? I wish I could get away like those fellows. Look, why, there's old Colonel Jenkins. Wise man. Retired from government house before they mixed up with these Atlantic people. I go, there they are.
They weren't far wrong about,
Very nice.
what was going to happen in the future, were they?
This is New York calling the world. We shall now broadcast pictures of the location on the frontier where this morning's outrage was perpetrated. Though we regret the accidental death of the two European rumrunners, there can be no excuse for the deliberate and unprovoked
Robots and Ray Guns, a history of sci-fi film, 1940.
Greetings, and welcome back to the channel, as we head into a brand new decade. One that is usually forgotten when discussing the history of sci-fi cinema. Sci-fi filmmaking in the 1940s was characterized by sequels, serials, and low-budget B-movies, produced quickly and with modest resources. Icons like Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff in stories blending sci-fi and horror elements, aimed at providing entertaining genre fare during trying times. We'll start off with more Flash Gordon, some forgotten films, the first sci-fi in Technicolor, the first sci-fi horror hybrid starring an all-black cast, and 2 sequels to The Invisible Man. Before we dive into this year's feature films and serials, I want to highlight one overlooked German short film. Weltraumschiff 1 startet, or Spaceship One launches, was directed by Anton Kuter. With its groundbreaking special effects and miniature work, it serves as a reminder of the great German science fiction films of the past and how the genre was ignored by the Nazi regime in the latter half of the 1930s. This 23-minute short film reused footage from 2 unfinished films that were abandoned due to the war. The filmmakers repurposed the footage to create a short film that shows a realistic manned rocket launch to the moon that is different than many of the American films made at the time, focusing on the scientific and technical aspects of space travel for what was known at the time, rather than adventures in space. In the 1950s, the Hayden Planetarium in New York would use footage from this short as part of the animated series The Space Explorers. It is also a forerunner to 1950's Destination Moon and 1951's When Worlds Collide. To be released, German films had to get approval from the propaganda ministry. But there is little overt Nazi propaganda. It's 23 minutes of German actors playing scientists, showing off their technical superiority. It is an interesting what-if in cinema history. What if the Nazis didn't take control of the German film industry to use for propaganda purposes? What if great filmmakers didn't have to flee the country for Hollywood in the 1930s? And now back to Hollywood and the continuing adventures of Flash, Dale, and Dr. Zarkov. Flash Gordon Conquers the Universe, the 3rd serial in the series, was again produced by Universal Pictures. This black and white serial, spanning 12 episodes, is rooted in Alex Raymond's 1934 comic strip. Directed by Ford Beebe and Ray Taylor, are both notable for their work on action-packed serials. Beebe worked on Buck Rogers, The Phantom Creeps, and the Green Hornet, while Taylor, known for action features, worked on The Spider's Web, which I discussed in my 1938 episode. The story follows Flash Gordon, played by Buster Crabbe, as he faces off once again against Charles B. Middleton's Ming the Merciless. Carol Hughes joins the cast as Dale Arden, replacing Gene Rogers, who was now under contract to 20th Century Fox, while Frank Shannon reprises his role as the brilliant Dr. Zarkov. New cast members include Roland Drew as Prince Baron and Shirley Dean as Princess Aura. The story begins with Earth under threat from a deadly plague known as the Purple Death, believed to be the sinister creation of Ming the Merciless. Flash, Dale, and Dr. Zarkov search for a cure. Along the way, they reunite with their friends Prince Baron and Princess Aura and their new ally, Queen Freya. Ming survived the last serial and is now aided by Captain Torch and his spy Lady Sonya. Like many serials of the time, this production was characterized by resourcefulness. Universal Pictures reused sets, costumes, music, and props from previous productions. Additionally, the scenes from the German film White Hell of Piz Palu were incorporated to enhance the mountain climbing sequence in Episode 2. And the Chamber of Death dust scenes were taken from Buck Rogers. Its depiction of Ming as a military dictator, instead of the Fu Manchu persona of previous installments, reflected contemporary real-world concerns, drawing parallels to Adolf Hitler and the rising tensions of World War II.
He has chosen his own death.
The serial was notable for its imaginative sets, Art Deco designs, and exciting cliffhangers, bringing audiences back week after week. It also used the rolling scroll in the introduction of each episode that was popularized in the 1939 projects Buck Rogers and The Phantom Creeps. These rolling scrolls were later used by George Lucas for his Star Wars films. Flash Gordon Conquers the Universe was shown on television in the 1950s, but the name was changed to Space Soldiers Conquer the Universe, so it didn't conflict with the television series airing at the time. It was also edited into 2 features in 1966 and shown on PBS in the 1970s. This is one of the better made serials of the time that I really enjoyed. Buster Crabbe has settled into his role, and I didn't find the recasting of Dale Arden too jarring. But the one strange recasting was Princess Aura, who looks and acts nothing like the original actress Priscilla Lawson. She's very sweet and innocent now that she's married to Prince Baron. And the Robin Hood style costumes are a bit strange and look like they were just borrowed from another film's costume department. Flash Gordon Conquers the Universe is available on DVD and streaming for free on YouTube and the Internet Archive, which I'll link in the description below. I recommend checking it out. Before we dive into the films of 1940, if you're enjoying the content, hit like and subscribe for more episodes on the history of sci-fi cinema. You can also support my work on Patreon, which I'll link in the description below. Your support means a lot, and I appreciate everyone stopping by to share their love for this incredible genre. Produced by Paramount Pictures, Dr. Cyclops is notable for being the first American science fiction film shot in 3-strip Technicolor. Directed by Ernest B. Schudzack, renowned for his work on King Kong and Son of Kong. This film showcases his expertise in blending visual effects into storytelling. The cast is led by Albert Decker as the mad scientist, Dr. Alexander Thorkel. The supporting cast includes a group of unwilling participants in the Doctor's experiments. Thomas Coley as Bill Stockton, Janice Logan in her film debut as Mary Robinson, Charles Halton as Robert Bulfinch, and Victor Killian as Steve Baker. The plot of Dr. Cyclops centers around Dr. Thorkel's experiments in a remote jungle. After summoning a group of American scientists, he decides to shrink them to a fraction of their original size using radiation. The miniaturized scientist must navigate the dangerous jungle and the mad scientist. Despite its innovative special effects and Technicolor presentation, the film received mixed reviews upon release. Variety called it dull, while others praised its visual accomplishments. The New York Times called it, quote, the best bad picture of the year. The film was nominated for Best Special Effects at the 13th Academy Awards, losing out to The Thief of Baghdad. This is a quick and fun film that uses color to its advantage to highlight the groundbreaking visual effects and set design. Not the most original story, but the use of cinematography and visual effects creates something worth watching. Dr. Cyclops is available on DVD and Blu-ray, as well as streaming on the Internet Archive. In 1940, Universal Pictures continued its exploration of science fiction and horror with The Invisible Man Returns, the second installment in the Invisible Man series, based on the H.G. Wells novel. This black and white film, directed by Austrian filmmaker Joe May, who fled the German film industry for Hollywood in 1933, brought a unique perspective to the series. Unfortunately, Joe May refused to learn English even though he now worked in Hollywood, so star Vincent Price stepped in to translate May's instructions to the cast. The film featured a mix of seasoned actors and emerging talent. Cedric Hardwicke, renowned for his Shakespearean roles on the stage and in Things to Come, played Richard Cobb. Hardwicke would go on to serve as the narrator in 1953's The War of the Worlds. The up-and-coming actor Vincent Price took on the role of the new Invisible Man, Geoffrey Radcliffe. The plot follows Radcliffe, wrongfully convicted of murder, escapes execution with the help of an invisibility serum created by Dr. Frank Griffin, the brother of the original Invisible Man. As Radcliffe seeks to clear his name, he grapples with possible madness, a side effect of the serum. Produced on a budget of $244,000, The Invisible Man grossed an impressive $815,000. Its special effects, particularly the scene where Vincent Price becomes visible, were groundbreaking and earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Special Effects, though it lost to The Thief of Baghdad. The film received mixed reviews. While praised for its suspense and performances, some felt the novelty had worn off since the original film. Nonetheless, its impact was significant, paving the way for sequels and an unofficial Mexican remake.
We had so many new apps to build, and even more change requests.
We could do more without systems.
Oh yeah, without system.
In December, Universal released The Invisible Woman, directed by A. Edward Sutherland, known for his work with comedy legends like Charlie Chaplin. This film diverged from its predecessors by blending science fiction with screwball comedy. The story centers on Professor Gibbs, played by John Barrymore, who invents an invisibility machine. Virginia Bruce stars as Kitty Carroll, a model who wants to become invisible long enough to settle scores with her tyrannical boss, leading to a series of comedic run-ins with a gang of bumbling criminals. The cast included notable names like Charles Ruggles, John Howard, and Margaret Hamilton, who was coming off a great 1939 with her turn as the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz. Despite a substantial budget of $300,000, the film grossed around $660,000. It was
What was your bit of this one here? History of go back in time a bit. 1936 robots and ray guns.
Greetings, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the sci-fi films of 1936. This year marked a pivotal moment in the genre's evolution, showcasing a diverse range of films. Some mesmerized audiences with their imaginative storytelling, pioneering special effects, and forward-thinking exploration of futuristic themes, space travel, and life after death. From immediate hits like Flash Gordon to underrated gems like Things to Come, these films offered glimpses into a future while reflecting the hopes and fears of their era. Plus, we'll explore 3 films starring Boris Karloff, along with some lesser-known films from Mexico and the United States. So buckle up for an exciting journey through the sci-fi landscape of 1936.
Let's see what information we can
Looking
get
at
from
films
this.
about space exploration made before the space race in the 1960s, we tend to think of early film efforts that were far more fantastical. But better examples are Woman in the Moon from 1929 and Cosmic Voyage from 1936. Both films brought on famed scientists as technical advisors to get the story as accurate as possible for what was scientifically known at the time. Cosmic Voyage was made as a silent film because many theaters in the Soviet Union still didn't have sound equipment. Directed by Vasily Zhuravlov when he was just 32, he enlisted the expertise of Soviet rocket scientist Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, whose influence extended to leaders of the US and Soviet space programs, shaping the work of figures like Wernher von Braun and Sergei Korolev. He was not only the technical advisor, but was responsible for the crafting of the miniatures for the film. Sadly, he passed away just months before its premiere and never saw the final film. Echoes of Fritz Lang's Woman in the Moon resonate throughout Cosmic Voyage, sharing story elements and character archetypes, such as the stowaway and oxygen supply mishaps jeopardizing the mission. Set in 1946, the film portrays the Soviet space program's internal strife as Professor Sadiq and his team, including his assistant Marina, embark on the first manned moon mission. Overcoming challenges, they achieve a triumphant return, hailed as heroes, embodying the Soviet quest for lunar exploration. Central to the film's narrative is the theme of scientific progress and academic cooperation, in contrast to the militaristic space race narratives that would dominate Cold War-era science fiction. Cosmic Journey emphasizes the collaborative efforts of scientists and engineers working together to unlock the mysteries of the universe. The film was taken out of theaters shortly after release in the Soviet Union and mostly forgotten until the 1980s. So it is still gaining recognition as a part of film history. Many impressive shots utilize the miniatures of the spacecraft, the moon landscape, and the astronauts. While the wire work for depicting weightlessness occasionally lacks finesse, it doesn't diminish the overall sense of wonder. The cinematography offers a captivating glimpse into the director's vision of space travel in 1936. The film was encouraged by the Communist Party to get younger generations interested in space travel. Despite making the film for younger generations, its visuals, rooted in scientific principles, surpass the sophistication of contemporary American narratives. Cosmic Voyage is available on DVD as well as for free on YouTube and the Internet Archive. I'll link them in the description below. Before continuing with the films of 1936, if you are enjoying the content, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more History of Sci-Fi episodes. Your support is what keeps this channel thriving, and I'm thankful for everyone stopping by to share the love for this amazing genre. And some breaking news. I've started a Patreon. It's a great way to support the channel, and I'll post some behind-the-scenes rantings, random thoughts, and reviews. I'll link the Patreon page in the description below if you would like to check it out. Cosmic Voyage was based on science, while Flash Gordon was a space opera based on the heights of the imagination, becoming the first large-budget American science fiction project since the failure of 1930's Just Imagine. But it's not big budget in the way you would think. It only had a production total of $350,000. Flash Gordon would become the first real science fiction serial, Unlike earlier ones that were more horror or thriller, comedy or crime hybrids, mixed with speculative elements. Producers were able to keep costs down by reusing props and sets from other Universal projects, like the watchtowers from Frankenstein, statues from The Mummy, the lab from The Invisible Ray, and the rocket ships from Just Imagine. This iconic 13-episode serial from Universal Pictures was based on a 1934 comic strip by Alex Raymond. Flash Gordon was influenced by the popularity of Anthony Buck Rogers, whose story was first seen in Amazing Stories in 1928. But you can also see influences from the 1933 novel When Worlds Collide, both dealing with the threat of a planet colliding with Earth. Directed by Frederick Stefani and starring Buster Crabbe as Flash and Gene Rogers as Dale Arden, as they battle Ming the Merciless, played by Charles B. Middleton. Crabbe was a former Olympic swimmer turned actor who also played Tarzan as well as Buck Rogers in the 1939 serial. During an impending collision of Earth with the planet Mongo, Dr. Zarkov, Flash, and Dale embark on an escape mission. They confront Emperor Ming, who forces the all-American hero into gladiatorial combat and seeks to possess the beautiful Dale. Amid Ming's tyranny, alliances form. As Princess Aura aids Flash, together they face dangers including encounters with giant lizard creatures, fire dragons, the Sharkmen, and Hawkmen. In the end, they escape back to Earth. Ming the Merciless is allegedly dead, leaving behind questions and hopes for a sequel. The costumes range from retro-futuristic to outfits that were too scandalous according to the Hays Code. The costumes would be more modest in the Flash sequels to meet production code concerns. The charisma of the actors brings delightful campiness to this space opera. The mixing of creatures and humans, along with rocket ships, ray guns, and new worlds. It never suffers from boring action like most serials at the time, while remaining mostly faithful to the comic. It cannot be understated how much influence the character of Flash Gordon had on future filmmakers and writers. We would not have Star Wars, as well as many other space operas, without him. He influenced not only otherworldly stories, but also the superhero genre, which was about to take off. His costumes, his heroic actions, and all-American good looks would influence the creators of Superman and The Flash. The serial would inspire sequels, a syndicated television show in the 1950s, animated series, live-action series in the 1990s and the 2000s, but the most well-known portrayal came from the 1980 feature film with its great theme song. I can't play it here because YouTube would hit me for copyright. The name Flash Gordon didn't guarantee success in 1936. The magazine The Flash Gordon Strange Adventure published only one issue before folding due to low-quality writing and artwork. Flash Gordon is available on DVD as well as for free on Rumble and YouTube. I'll link these channels in the description below.
Right. I don't know how I'm going on. I'm going to go on, but when I upload this to my channel as regards, you know, using other people's work in work. I think she said she couldn't use Flash Gordon in her work because YouTube would hit me for copyright. I'm getting concerned now that YouTube are going to do the same thing to me. We found out a bit about. We watched a bit of vintage sci-fi and found out a bit about science fiction. So I'll just upload this and see how I go on with it.